Morning, lovelies. Ishmael, take 2. Let's talk about it. Jesus, coffee. Apparently, Satan wanted no part of that first Ishmael video because it wouldn't upload. It just sat in the state of being finished, but never went and appeared on the stream or appeared on the feed or appeared in my stories. So Satan wanted no part of that one. So you know what? Go stand in a corner, Satan. Go stand in a corner, little boy. God's will be done. All right, so Ishmael. Yesterday we talked about the fact that we talked about Abram, and the fact that Abram had 2 sons. One from his wife Sarah's handmaiden Hagar, named Ishmael, which we'll talk about this morning. And then Sarah was with child, and their child was named Isaac. And we'll talk about all of that. But we're going to talk about Ishmael. We're going to talk about Hagar being in Hagar when she fled. So when Sarah, so we're going to go into Genesis 16. So when Hagar, or Sarah, found out that Hagar had conceived and was with child, she became very envious, very ugly. Despised Hagar. Even though she told her, hey, lay with my handmaiden, which is my servant, and once she conceived, she became ugly with her. So Hagar fled. Well, I want to eavesdrop on the conversation between Hagar and God, because God goes and meets her when she's hurting. She's hurting, she's scared, and there's God right there. And I want to eavesdrop on this conversation. So this is in Genesis 16, starts in verse 9. Actually, we're going to start in verse 8. And God said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, where have you come from, and where are you going? She said, I'm fleeing from the presence of my mistress Sarai. The angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit yourself under her hand. Then the angel of the Lord said to her, I will multiply your descendants exceedingly, so that they shall not be counted for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said to her, behold, you are with child. You shall bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard your affliction. So the Lord heard her when she was hurting. She cried out to him, and he heard her and saw her. How comforting is that, guys, to know that when we cry out to him, when we're hurting, when we're going through something, he hears us, and he's with us, just like he's with Hagar. So he goes on to say, he shall be a wild man. His hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. So as we talked about yesterday, Ishmael is the descendant line of the Muslim nation. And Isaac is the descendant line of the Jewish nation, which is why everything's happening over in Israel. Hamas being Hamas and Hezbollah, which Hezbollah hasn't really gotten involved yet, but Hamas is from Iran. They're a terrorist organization from Iran. So, Muslim nation, right? Islam nation. Islam and Jews fighting over land that they both think was promised to them. We're going to talk about who it's actually promised to. But I want to continue in this conversation between Hagar and the Lord. So then she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her. You are the God who sees. For she said, have I also here seen him who sees me? She's like, are you God? Like, are you God? And she knew who she was talking to. Therefore, the well was called Bir Lahoi Roy. Observe, it is between Kadesh and Bered. So that's that conversation between Hagar, the mother of Ishmael. And that's that tenderness of the Lord. Knows that she's hurting, knows that she needs him, and he's there and comforts her. So I want to move into Genesis 17. I want to move into the conversation between God and Abram, or Abraham at this time, because he's created his covenant with him. So now he's renamed him Abraham, and his wife Sarai has now been renamed Sarah. So, so he was asking him, are you really going to give, I'm almost 100 years old. My wife is, 90. You're going to give a woman, you're going to give a baby to. God said, no, Sarah, your wife, shall bear you a son, and you shall call his name Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his descendants after him. There you go. We can just stop the war over there, right? Because we know it's not about, we know, like in here, that this is, right, we could stop the war. Why don't we just go over and show them the Bible? Oh, that's right, because Muslims don't follow the Bible. Muslims follow a book called the Quran. And the Quran doesn't say this. So, and as for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. He shall beget 12 princes, and I'm going to let you look up the 12 princes he begets. Something for you to do after the video. You look it up, and if anybody wants to drop what they found in the comments, feel free. That's for you to do. And I will make him a great nation. And we know that Muslim is a great nation. Great in terms of multitude, many. But, there's always a but with God. And I love, you better listen to what comes after the buts. That's that, hold up. But, my covenant I shall establish with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear to you at this set time next year. No need for a pregnancy test. She's going to be pregnant. She's going to have a baby next year, this time, and his name is going to be Isaac. Yeah. So there you go. So Ishmael, there's the background of Ishmael. Born to mother Hagar and father Abram, who then became Abraham, who the father of nations, Muslim nation and Jewish nation. So, God sees you. God knows what you're going through. He sees you. He loves you. He stepped from a throne of endless glory to a cradle in the dirt, took on flesh, underwent the entire human experience, was betrayed, was neglected, was, he understands everything you go through. And he's gone through things that we can't even fathom going through. He's been betrayed. He's been spoken against. He's been blasphemed. He's been, and then had his flesh ripped from his body with the scourge, and then made to drag the cross. Hair ripped out of his face, hair ripped out of his head, spit on, hit, beat, mocked, jeered. all the while dragging the cross that he was going to be spiked to so that he could save those that were mocking him, jeering him, pulling hair from his head and face, spitting on him. Tell me how that's not love. That is infinite or agape, God-like love. Only God could do that. He loves you that much. He loves me that much. I am so grateful that he does. So stop living your life separated from him and place your faith in him. Admit that you're a sinner in need of a savior. Admit that you're a sinner who deserves eternal separation from him. Believe in the finished work on the cross. His life, death, burial, and resurrection. And receive that free gift. Romans 10:9. If you confess with your mouth that Jesus is the Lord, and you believe in your heart that the Father resurrected him, you will be saved. Yeah. I love you guys. I know he loves you like crazy. Apparently, he loves you so much that he wants this message put out twice. Because the enemy wanted no part of the first one. So, he wants to make sure that somebody hears this message. So, we'll be back tomorrow with whatever Dad wants to talk about.